right, we are going to talk about masters of disguise. So if you remember, we finished up talking about different traits and traits that allow organisms to survive better in certain environments. So with the Bird Beak Lab, hopefully you guys kind of noticed that certain beaks work better than others to pick out different foods. So those would be the main food sources for birds with that shaped beak. Now there were some that could survive on lots of different types of food, and those would be the organisms that would be most likely to survive if there was a change in environment. So now we're going to talk about other ways or other adaptations that organisms have in order to better survive in their environment. So your objective for this, something that I'd like you to come away with, is I'd like you to be able to demonstrate how camouflage can help an organism survive in its environment. So, now you see me, now you don't. So traits are inherited, and some traits make it easier for living things to survive and reproduce. Camouflage is a trait that makes it very hard to see an animal in its natural habitat. Camouflage is an important part of survival. So it hides the animal from predators, but at the same time makes the animal a sneaky predator itself. So basically, when it's camouflaged, it can hide if something's hunting it, but if it's hunting, the prey that it's hunting after can't see it coming, so it also allows it to get more food. So an animal that is best camouflaged in its environment has the best chance to survive, reproduce, and pass its color or camouflage down to its offspring. So natural selection in action. So we have these things called peppered moths. There are two phenotypes for a type of peppered moth that is found in England. So we have the black and white speckled. So black speckled, white speckled. So before the Industrial Revolution, the white peppered moth had the largest population because they matched the light-colored bark. So the Industrial Revolution is when the world started using machines, started using coal and burning coal in order to make those machines work. Okay, so the Industrial Revolution, before that, a lot of the bark on trees were white, and so these white peppered moths had the largest population because they matched the light-colored bark on the trees. That meant they were camouflaged, and birds could not spot them to eat them, so they lived longer. And when they lived longer, they reproduced more, and when they reproduced more white peppered moths were produced. But when the Industrial Revolution happened, the factories poured out this black smoke from burning coal, and that meant that these white trees soon became dark with this soot that was in the air. And this caused white peppered moths to stand out against that dark bark. So here's the bark now. And so now you can really see those white peppered moths, but you can't see the black peppered moths. Okay? And very soon, the black peppered moth's population began to grow really, really fast because the birds could not now see the black peppered moths. They could only see the white ones. And because of that, they were not naturally selecting for them. So if this progression were to have continued for generations and generations and generations, the gene for white peppered moths may have gone completely extinct or eliminated from the population because none of them could have survived against that white or against that dark bark. So in other words, the birds would cause all the white peppered moths to go extinct, and this is because of evolution. The environment changed, the color of bark got dark, and now what was an advantage, that white coloration, is now a disadvantage, and now will allow them to be eaten better. So concealing coloration. When an animal blends with its background, so this is a type of coloration that organisms have when they are actually blending in with their background so that you can't see them as well. So here's some examples. You've got your snowy owls, your, I think they're called Arctic seals, yes. Arctic foxes, polar bears, and Arctic hares. Okay, so these are all things that are colored specifically so that they can blend in with their environment. The light underside of many predatory animals like this allow them to blend in with the sun filters through the water. So as they hunt, the food below them can't see them. So this manta ray right here, notice that it is white, so it almost looks like the sun is shining down upon or filtering through the water. So the fish below it, or the organisms that it eats below it, can't see it coming because it's camouflaged with the ocean above it. And so that allows them to better hunt for food. You'll notice that that happens a lot. This is a rockfish. Literally, it looks like a rock, and it allows it to blend in with its surroundings so it can survive. Then this guy right here, you'll notice that its underside looks a lot like the coral around it, allowing it to better hunt. All right, so here's some more examples of just organisms that are able to blend in with their environment pretty well. You'll notice sometimes, maybe walking around here, you'll notice rabbits that you didn't even notice were sitting in the bushes next to you, and all of a sudden you scare them or spook them and they jet out right in front of you and kind of scare you. But that is an advantage. That is a camouflage that they use. Frogs do the same thing. Deer, okay, they're speckled on their back so that they blend in with the bark and the different colorations of leaves on the ground. Snakes are often colored like the trees or the areas of leaves that they live in. Okay, we have octopuses can actually change colors, and we'll talk about that in a second. This is a stingray that is colored. Notice how it matches very closely with the bottom of the ocean. And different fish. All right, so a disruptive coloration. So we just talked about, concealing coloration, so the ability to be colored so you're concealed. The other one is disruptive coloration. So disruptive coloration is when an organism's color is broken up with a pattern like stripes or spots so that it easily confuses or conceals itself when it's in a group or when it's alone. Stripes and spots give the illusion of light or shadow, and this often confuses prey or predators. So when you see that kind of stuff moving, it kind of, as a predator, makes you kind of question where that organism actually is. Where is it? And so it can really be confusing. Even when you're prey and you're being hunted by one of these organisms, it's going to be really difficult to see if they are shadow, how they're moving. It kind of just, your brain just doesn't really deal with it very well compared to a solid colored animal. There's lots of examples in nature of disruptive coloring. All of those bright tropical fish you see in the ocean are an example of disruptive coloring. Lots of different snakes, caterpillars, spiders and bugs. And mimicry is another one. So mimicry is when an animal copies or mimics the form of something else. So, if you'll notice, this is a butterfly. But if you'll also notice, there's an owl behind it, and it kind of looks like an owl. So this butterfly actually mimics the coloration and the appearance of this owl. And what that does for it is that it allows it to be protected, because some birds that would hunt this butterfly might be prey for this owl. So when they see it, they're going to think, oh wait, that's an owl. I don't want to go near that, instead of, oh look, there's a butterfly, it's time for lunch. See? Pretty weird, huh? So the owl-butterfly mimicry, like I just said, is where there are eye spots on the wings and they resemble the owl's eyes. And when the butterfly spreads its wings, the eye spots may scare predators. So predators are like, oh, that's an owl. Back away, because the owl they can't eat, but the moth they could, or the butterfly they could. Caterpillar snake mimicry, this is another example. So these caterpillars have adaptations that create the illusion of snake eyes or markings, so that when predators see them, they're often deterred from eating them because they think, ooh, that's a snake. Snakes bite and oftentimes have venom. Stay away from that. So You'll notice on this caterpillar, there's these like snake-looking eyes. Yes, this is not the best one you've ever seen, but this one looks a little bit more like a snake than the other one. But they are very effective as far as warding off predators so that those organisms can survive better. Viceroy monarch mimicry. So the viceroy butterfly has a secret defense. It resembles a distasteful monarch butterfly, which deters animals from eating it and results in their survival. So when predators eat monarchs are really bad tasting. They hate it. They don't want to eat monarchs. But there's another butterfly that looks an awful lot like a monarch. It's called a viceroy. Okay, and it mimics the appearance, so even though it wouldn't taste bad to predators, it still gets saved. It still survives because the animals are like, ooh, those things taste bad because that's how they look. They look like those monarchs that taste bad. Leaf mimicry. So a lot of bugs do this, leaf mimicry. And they mimic leaves and other components in order to camouflage themselves from predators or prey. So we've got stick bugs, leaf bugs, grasshoppers, a lot of different ones. And they can just blend into the leaves around them, and that allows them to escape from predators. It also allows them to better hunt prey that would naturally land on those leaves. And so they're already there, the prey doesn't see them, and they're able to hunt. Fly hornet mimicry. So we all know that hornets can leave a nasty sting. The fly pictured in the upper left, so this is a fly, is a mimic of this yellow jacket. Okay? Because of this coincidental resemblance, the predators will stay away from the fly, thinking that they'll probably get stung. So it allows the flies to survive. So now you see me, now you don't. So you think you can make it in the wind? What you're going to do is you're going to create a camouflage that will help you survive in various environments with this interactive game. So what you're going to do today, and I'll explain this a little bit in class, is you're going to explore and simulate camouflage in animals. So you're going to come up with a chameleon pattern. You're going to get colored pencils, markers, and crayons. I want you to think about 3 types of camouflage we discussed and design a chameleon so that it can be camouflaged somewhere in our class. Make the chameleon as invisible as possible. You're going to cut that chameleon out and tape the chameleon to its hiding spot and then return to your seats. We will do the next part of this tomorrow. So you want to try to get your chameleon to blend in really, really well, because tomorrow we're going to look for those chameleons, and whoever survives is the ones that'll be able to reproduce and pass their genes along. If you get hunted, if you're seen, then you won't be able to. So keep that in mind as you're designing your chameleons for today's activity. All right, thank you, and please write down any questions you have and ask them. Bye.